When and how did you become a citizen of Israel? You have dual citizenship, yes?
Yes, I became a citizen, an Israeli citizen, when I went to live in Israel. So that was, I don't have the dates totally clear in my mind right now, but that was probably in the late 80s, because I did a degree in math at the university in Paris, and then I studied Middle East politics for a French university, but I did that while living in Israel. And that's when I got the Israeli citizenship, and then I went into the army. And I'm probably one of the only rabbi who's left Israel to become a rabbi. That's probably my only particularity in that respect.
So you made Aliyah, you meant to stay, and then you came back?
Yes, it's you know, it has been very difficult for me. I have to say, I've made Aliyah, I've made Yerida. When I left Israel to study to become a rabbi, I did it partly because I couldn't stand the relationship between politics and religion, and realized somehow that I was very much a diaspora Jew. There was something in me that was very much of a diaspora Jew. My link with Israel is still very strong. It's sometimes a lot of criticism, and I've been often very vocal in critics of Israel. But it's a relationship of great affection and great love and great hopes. What was difficult for me was to face my own failure of not staying in Israel, so much so that I didn't go back for about 16 years. It was very difficult for me the first time I came back after making Yerida.
But now you're doing this interesting pilgrimage of sorts. That's the wrong word.
Yes, it's the wrong word, but yes, I'm doing different thing, and I've found my peace somehow with Israel as well, in the sense that my relationship is a little bit normalized, if such a thing can exist. But the commitment is there, because first of all, I'm quite pessimistic about the future of Judaism in Europe. So, you know, Israel is obviously one of the places where Judaism will continue, even if it continues in a form and shape that doesn't fit my own understanding. At the end of the day, my own understanding is not that important. It's only important for me. But in the scheme of history, I mean, if that's the way Judaism continues, then okay. But I'm aware of that. I have this historical sense somehow. So from that point of view, and if it was only for that, clearly the state of Israel would already be extremely important. I think the other thing is mostly important is that Judaism is mostly about the Jewish people. And you can't think of Judaism in a theoretical framework without dealing first with the Jewish people. So of course Israel is central.
Mm-hmm. So let me just ask you one quick thing about your life now with this these visits to the Vatican.
Yep.
I was so pleased to hear that there's no Starbucks at the Gregorian.
Yes.
I'm sure the coffee is better. Do you feel as if over time your people you know socially there have in fact changed their sense of what Jews are like? Do you see that over time?
Yes, I think so. Even if I've only been there a few years, I mean, I think the relationship, which at the beginning is always a little bit distant and apprehensive, simply because there are historical reasons to be a bit wary of who's going to say what and when, and in particular, you know, saying things that maybe they shouldn't say or that I shouldn't say. I think what I see very clearly is that once you develop a trust, and once you come with honesty in front of an educated group of students, such as they are, or their professors there, the relationship develops by itself, and then you see minds opening, gates opening, and real change in people. I mean, for me, the most remarkable type of change that I see is when the students start to understand the way Judaism think, when they start not to be afraid to express to you, or say, oh, but is that how Judaism think of that? Even if they get it wrong, the fact that they can express that is already going over a lot of prejudices and a lot of fear. And also from time to time when they face their own difficult text that they have. And they say, you know, Rabbi, we came across a text which is not particularly sympathetic to Judaism. And they come to me rather than pretending that they haven't seen it or discussing it within themselves and not telling me. And I think it's always the sign of a healthy relationship to one's religion to be able to love one's tradition and yet keep a critical eye. I mean, we're not there to pretend that everything is absolutely perfect and has no faults. All our traditions have faults, and when I see that in the others, then it comforts me, because that's what I'm trying to do within Judaism.
Mm-hmm. Do they ever come to you with discussions about the political issues of Vatican-Jewish relations? I'm thinking of that. This was probably a little before your time there, but the business about Pope Pius and the archives.
Not too much, actually. They don't seem to be very political. I think the Gregorian has a tradition of being itself critical of the system, within the limits, of course, of what is permitted. And I think they're quite confident to discuss that among themselves, and therefore they don't necessarily need to come and discuss that with me. It's also maybe because at the end of the day, I teach a lot and I have a lot of classes there, so the questions are limited in many ways to the topics of the classes, and if I had a little bit more free time in the corridors and so on and so forth, maybe other discussion went. But for example, I was quite surprised. I was there on Thursday and Friday. I was expecting a lot of constant talk about the issue with the Pope and the new Pope, and there was a sense of very quiet place. I was quite surprised because this is not what I expected. So is it because they didn't want to discuss that in front of me? Maybe. But I think somehow they feel a little bit distant maybe from that, and they take a step back, I suppose, and I guess that's how they deal with the intricacies of the Vatican, which I'm sure are many.
Sounds like a good place.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.